Today, thank you so much. We've got MLA Richard Gotfried on the call. He's actually the president of PNWER, and he's going to talk a little bit about this initiative that we have available for Alberta communities, our EDA members. So even if you have colleagues who are not on the call, please feel free to share this information with them because it is a great opportunity for us. And I know, Richard, you've got a bit of a hard stop. You've got another call you have to get to, your chairing. So maybe if you can just open up, tell us a little bit about PNWER, I know, and then we'll have a couple of your colleagues speak after that. That would be great. So feel free to take it away.
Great. Thank you, Leanne, and welcome everyone. Good day. And also, as you can see by my background, Gong Hei Fat Choi, Gong Si Fat Chai. It is Chinese New Year, the second day of Chinese New Year today. So a very auspicious occasion. The year of the tiger should come roaring and clawing its way back, hopefully, to ensure we have that economic vibrancy and prosperity in 2022. I'm very, very honored to join you today. I've been a long time participant and supporter of the economic developers of Alberta, and I'm looking very much forward to your conference this year, Leanne, hopefully a live conference again. I know I've had great opportunities for some networking with your members and your leadership at various conferences in both Kananaskis and in Banff over the last number of years. So it's in my calendar already, and I intend to be there. So just a few words about PNWER, and I know I've got my colleagues here, Rachael Kopp, who is the program manager for PNWER, who will be here and stay on after I have to leave the call to actually go and chair a PNWER executive and delegate council call, and also David Kettles, who is our liaison with Jobs, Economy, Innovation, so very appropriate to this group as well. And David supports not only PNWER, but all the other cross-border relationships with CSG and other organizations that we are members with in the United States. So thank you for Rachael and David to be here. PNWER is, of course, the acronym for Pacific Northwest Economic Region. It involves 10 jurisdictions, the 4 Pacific Northwest states, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Alaska. And then the 3 Western provinces, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, and the 2 territories, Yukon Northwest Territories. A very large geographic footprint, but anecdotally, we would be, if we were one geographic and economic unit, we would be the 11th largest economy in the world. So that tells you about the clout and the potential for cooperation and collaboration for us to think more regionally. And I know all of you with EDA understand that, where the regional benefits sometimes outweigh that internal competition that we often are drawn towards. We're all very competitive, but sometimes it's better to look at the greater good and how we can draw attention to our region. And that's what PNWER is all about. Multi-jurisdictional, cross-jurisdictional, with a strong voice of advocacy, both in Ottawa and Washington, DC. And that's one of the strengths of PNWER. So why am I here today? Well, it's to tell you about an opportunity that's coming up in 2022. Concurrent with my presidency, it just so happens that we will be the hosts of the 2022 PNWER Summit. That will take place, and we'll certainly be sending all this information out. And Rachael, if you want to post some things in the chat, that would be great. That will be held in Calgary at the Hyatt Regency Calgary, July 24th to 28th of this year. And I know that a lot of us as Canadians go, a summer conference, why are we having that? And I had that same question. And the answer to that actually is that the US election cycles typically start in August, go through September and October. So I learned a lesson about that cross-border politics is that here in Canada, we kind of have this thing that we don't typically do conferences in July and August, but that because of the nature of this organization, we need to get that done before they move into an election cycle typically. We expect this to be, I hope, the largest and of course, most successful conference to date. Of course, we've had some challenges with the pandemic. We were able to hold a bit of a scaled down conference, a hybrid conference in Big Sky, Montana last year. The year before was supposed to be, we postponed, and the conference before that was in Saskatoon, a very successful one there. So we're hoping to draw, as we always do, a mixture of legislators from across the region. So any of you that are doing any kind of cross-border business, or your members, or anything that actually impacts regional opportunities, I think it's a good opportunity to speak to our legislators across the region. Policymakers, those people in the ministries and departments on both sides of the border that also may impact your business, And last but not least, of course, is the private sector companies that are involved with PNWER, from energy companies, agriculture, forestry, invasive species. We have 19 different working groups at PNWER dealing with various issues across. So a lot of opportunity to really get into the nuts and bolts of what makes the economies work. And the beauty I've found with PNWER is we have a lot of commonality across the region. Large geographic areas, strong resource base, or agriculture and various others, and low population. So we have many of the same issues, whether that's broadband, whether that's transportation, infrastructure, and all those sorts of things are common conversations we have. So that structure and that opportunity is going to be in front of us. It's a chance for us here in Alberta to tell our Alberta story. PNWER is kind enough as a host jurisdiction to allow us to be very influential on the agenda. So we are working on that now. We also have a responsibility with sponsors and sponsorship. So any of you who have private sector individuals or would like to get involved more deeply and perhaps even help us with that agenda development, we are happy to do that. And also, if there's stories to tell across the province as well, again, irrespective of the sector, those are important. We're also looking for policy tours closer to Calgary. For the most part, we try and do those sort of within 45 minutes to an hour drive out of Calgary, where we can show something unique that's happening in our economy here and really tell a great story about some of the initiatives happening in Alberta. We have a great ESG story going on right now and working with the Pathways Alliance and various groups. We're so blessed to have in my constituency right here, one of Canada's largest agricultural focused companies, Nutrien, right on our doorstep, headquartered in Saskatoon, but a large corporate presence and footprint here in Alberta. And of course, we will be discussing things from aviation to aerospace to technology, et cetera. The breadth of it is large, and you'll find out more about that as time goes forward. So we're very, very excited to be hosting this conference in Alberta. It is an opportunity, I believe, for EDEA members to come to network not only with their peers here in Alberta, but to have access to, we expect a large showing of Alberta ministers, energy, municipal affairs, infrastructure, agriculture, forestry, the list goes on. So the access and opportunity to network with leaders here in Alberta. The Premier, of course, will be there speaking probably on our opening day as well. Ambassadors from both countries, and the list goes on. Corporate leaders, policy development people, and the legislative elected officials from across the jurisdiction. So that's probably a broad overview. I'm going to leave you with Rachael, who is probably more of an expert. Rachael is the program manager, has great experience in guiding both our annual summit and our economic leadership forum that we hold in the wintertime as well. All of these, I think, are great opportunities for the members of EDA to get involved. And again, David is here to answer questions about the perspective maybe we're carrying from the Alberta side, but I think you're in very good hands. I personally look forward to seeing you at the EDA conference and at the PNWER conference and all opportunities in between. So thank you, Leanne, for giving me this opportunity. I consider EDA to be a great friend of mine, and I hope that the members of EDA also feel that I'm always there. I have an economic development background, spent 2 years as VP of Corporate and Community Engagement at CED, spent a decade in the building and development industry, and 20 years before that, traveling 7 or 8 times to Asia doing business there. So I'm going to turn it back to you and hop on to my PNWER call. Rachael, thanks for taking on the opportunity and sharing some information there. Have a great webinar, and I look forward to seeing you all at the conference. Take care.
Thanks so much, Richard. Go ahead, Rachael.
All right, thanks, Richard, and thanks, Leanne, for having us on this call. We're excited to come to Alberta again. I've been with PNWER since 2007, and I've gotten to plan a few events now in Calgary, so I'm certainly looking forward to coming back. Starting last year, we started a model of hybrid events. And as Richard mentioned, we did that in Big Sky, Montana, and then also in Vancouver, BC. And we will be offering a hybrid option again as well. And so we'll have a virtual registration, which kind of opens up opportunities for more people to attend our conference. I know Richard kind of gave a really quick overview of the organization, and I'm not sure how familiar everyone is. So I have a brief presentation I was going to walk through, so I'll just pull that up right now for you. Oops. Did I lose? Ugh. What did I do with that? Here, one sec. Okay, here we go. There we go. As Richard mentioned, we kind of are this northwest pocket here. We're chartered by the states of Alaska, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, and Washington, and the Western Canadian provinces of Alberta, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Yukon and Northwest Territories. We're recognized by the federal governments as the model for regional and binational cooperation. We have a long history. We've been around since 1991. We're the leading forum where we bring together legislators and industry leaders to share economic best practices. There's not many other organizations similar to us. As Richard mentioned, our region, if it was its own country, it would rank 14th in total GDP. So a lot of trade happening here, a lot of two-way trade. This is just a chart showing states what they import and export with Canada. So you can see there's a lot of movement in goods and services. That's kind of the reason PNWER formed, is there's a lot, because we share so many economic trade corridors. We saw a need to really working together to reduce trade barriers and to share policies and how we can be collaborative and support, from state to state and province to province and across the border. So that was how PNWER kind of founded in its infancy. A little bit about our main missions are promoting regional collaboration, and how we do that is coordinating on provincial and state policies throughout the region. How can we learn from one another? What are best practices and key takeaways? And really, what are the models of success that we've had? What are the challenges we face as a region? How can we share that information effectively? And then how can we continue to grow our little pocket of the world to be competitive on the global scale? And then PNWER, we work to share our region's success to the federal government, and we strive to do that all while maintaining our natural environment. A little bit about the governance. We work on both sides of the aisle, so each state and province appoints members from each caucus, or in government, or in Canada, it's opposition members. We also have members of, and then that then comprises our executive committee and delegate council. We also have a private sector council where members of private sector are represented, and that kind of guides the work that we do. We have working groups, as Richard mentioned, and they're listed on our next page. I'll go through, but each working group is co-chaired by public and private sector members, and so they kind of provide input through that angle on the key issues facing those sectors. We bring forth subject matter experts who really help identify and speak to the topics within those. And then through those conversations, we identify action items that the PNWER Secretariat can take to sort of move forward and advance on some of those issues. And so kind of through those different channels is how we collaborate to identify what the real issues for our region are. And we have a lot of working groups. So here's some of the topics that that have kind of different leaders that we sort of focus in on. And so there's a number of different areas to get involved and sort of weigh in and really learn. And all of these working groups are showcased at our annual summit. PNWER, our leadership goes around and visits the state and provincial capitals every year. So we're in the process of doing that right now. Next week, Richard and some of our board members will be going to Juneau in Alaska and Boise, Idaho. And that's an opportunity to meet with leadership in each jurisdiction, really hear the issues for that particular state or province, and really how can PNWER be useful and sort of advocate for some of those issues. So again, that's just another avenue for hearing what the priorities are. In the past years, our visits have been a little different, but we have been able to do virtual meetings with different committees, and that's been interesting, and I think a different opportunity that's kind of nice in its own way. We also we visit Ottawa and Washington DC. It's been a little longer since we've been to Ottawa because of some of the border closures and such, but we do visit with leadership there, again, advocating for our regional economy and hearing really what's happening at the federal level. So that's always a neat opportunity as well for PNWER. And then the annual summit itself. The summit in a normal year is about 500 attendees, 500 plus attendees, comprised of legislators, business leaders, and decision makers. And we usually feature 100 speakers that are all experts in their fields talking about these key issues. The working groups present an opportunity for involved kind of Q&A sessions. So it's a chance for people such as yourselves to really connect with the leaders in the areas that are of interest to you. 10 states and provinces are represented. We usually have high-level keynote speakers, so ambassadors, the premier will attend. We usually have a panel of CEOs. Energy will obviously be a big focus. Border is front of mind for everyone right now. Trade and supply chains, of course. At our recent conference in November, we had the CEO of Port Metro Vancouver, and we also had representatives from the Port of Seattle, and they gave a really interesting conversation on some of the challenges they were currently facing. So we usually have very timely discussions and really interesting opportunity for people to hear. Anyone's welcome to attend. And so this is definitely an opportunity to share with your members or spread to the business community or anything you think would benefit from hearing this. We have a lot of networking events, so evening receptions and just a chance where we encourage those conversations and opportunities to meet kind of as a sidebar. That's something we encourage for people to be able to do. And then different ways to be involved. We have a number of cross-promotion opportunities. So with Leanne, we've offered 25% off registration to all of your members. And so that's an opportunity there for a discount on registration. We also have a number of sponsorship opportunities ranging from lower level $500,000 sponsorships up to $20,000. And that's a way to get visibility and various benefits kind of scaled to whatever makes sense for you if that's of interest, and we're happy to work within a budget. So again, if you know a group that would maybe benefit from the visibility of this regional audience, that's an opportunity there. And then the other thing that's always really helpful for us is as we're developing these agendas and identifying the priorities, we collect input from a number of sources. We go to our capitals, hear from the leaders there, but we also work with our board members and each of our states and provinces to hear what the issues are there. But we also like to hear from people such as yourself. So I have a survey available that's linked here where you can weigh in on any topics or potential speakers. So again, if you're a leader in invasive species, we want to know about you and we want to know that perhaps you can speak on a certain topic. So that's just a random example, but again, if that's of interest, that link is available. And that's my quick overview on PNWER in a really brief nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions and provide more information.
That's great. Thank you, Rachel. So I think overall, hopefully, really the call to action, if they want to register, and we will have a discount code kind of on our website, and we'll start promoting that as we get closer. But really, I think your message too has been real around speakers, input, tours, trying to, I know this was Richard's kind of vision as well, is to make sure that this is not just a Calgary thing. This is a regional opportunity for people to visit and to enjoy the province. So I think if anyone has any questions, Nancy, I don't know if there has been any in the chat box yet, but please feel free to just jump in and ask your question. Maybe you've got someone you're thinking about for a speaker, you want to speak, you've got companies in your region that would make a lot of sense to get profile at this kind of event. Just feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Shy bunch today. And someone just joined a little late, but and I know we're going to have you guys. I don't know who's going to be there. I know Richard will be there for sure, but we'll have some presence at our conference. I think some more information, collateral, postcards, something for people to take away. Is the current agenda live on your website?
We have not made it live, but we intend to do so probably by early next week. So that's kind of in motion right now, as is registration. So that should be open in the coming days. We do have our hotel block up and kind of placeholders. I think for now, I would recommend people, and I can drop this into the chat. Here, let me stop sharing my screen. I would recommend people look at our past agenda to get a frame of reference on the scope of the event that we do. Because we are accommodating the virtual attendees, our agenda does have sort of a different shape than it has in years past. Normally we do 4 or 5 concurrent breakout sessions, and it just isn't possible to do that with our capacity supporting the virtual side as well. So now I think we have just 2 breakouts, so they'll be a little bit more plenary focused than in years past. But I will drop the link to our 2016 event was last time we were in Calgary, and I'll drop that link in the chat here. Just one moment.
So Rachael, in the past summits, what has attendance been like?
Upwards of 500. I think our highest attended was about 800. So it's usually in the 500 to 700 range. In Big Sky last year, we still landed around 350 overall, I think. So it came together, and we had the space there to sort of keep everyone comfortable. I know that's been an involving process in policies.
So you're finding that people do come from all of the states and provinces that are within the organization?
Yeah, obviously in Big Sky, we didn't have many Canadians down because the border restrictions were such. We did have some, so that was good. I know we were working a lot with CVSA and CBP to get exemptions, and we were able to get a few people across the border to attend at that point in time. But this year it'll be a little easier for people to get back and forth.
Are there going to be, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there was an endorsement for your conference in the chat box here.
Yeah.
Someone was saying that it was one of the best conferences ever attended. So that's great.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. The 2019 in Saskatoon one, that one was great.
Just curious too, for those who aren't in Calgary, is there, I think there has been talk that whether there was going to be an oil sands kind of tour, or I mean, Shane's, he's on our board, he's on the call as well. They've got a lot of, it's petrochemical complex. I would think that, you know, that might be of interest, having some people go see what's happening in Strathcona County. Like, how would organization Bev, what's happening in the Southern Alberta, is there an opportunity for them to organize tours as part of the program, or how does that work?
So we do have to keep our tours a little bit limited, only because we don't want to pull people in too many directions. So I find if we have too many tours going, they just get diluted, and it takes away, it detracts from the tour itself. So usually I try and limit So we do shorter tours on the Wednesday of our conference that are usually from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And so those by nature have to be a little bit more local. And I try and limit those to about 4. Otherwise, it just, people attendance is too low if there's too many. And then on the last day of our conference, we have an oil sands trip in the works. We're working out if it'll be before the conference or after. Right now it's on the schedule for after. So that'll take place on the Thursday. And so that allows for sort of a full day event. We are also looking at doing just kind of a tourism event out to Banff for people who want to take a little side trip out to Banff. So there is opportunity if there's someone who is located a little farther away, there is an opportunity to look at doing a longer day trip on that Thursday, but I would want to keep it limited to just one more. Otherwise, I think we just don't see enough pickup. People are going home and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions David?
Yeah, if I could add to that, we're in the discussion stages right now and we're on policy tours. So there's a number of things that we'll be exploring, and if we can get industry to step up and sponsor some of that. And we've got our departments that have put forward a number of suggestions, of which an oil sands tour is one of them. But that would have to be a before or after thing. And then of course there's other things that would happen around that. Same thing to the heartland. So we're just in discussion stages right now, but we'll look at that and explore it with PNWER what's doable. And I think we'll come up with a good program on the sidelines.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Ilan, feel free to jump in. You saying that you flew from Saskatoon-Estevan?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of a last minute thing because those tours, they were kind of keeping designated for the officials. And so I went and I asked if you still have room on that tour, I'd love to go. And they said, well, we don't, but they said, if you're willing to be here at 7, or maybe it was even 6:30 in the morning. And if somebody doesn't come, we'll let you come with us. And
I remember that.
Yeah. So they were really kind of hemming and hawing. And I said, you know what, I'm going to hop on the bus with you guys, because this is my community. I'm local to this area. And if I get left at the airport, that's okay. I can take a cab back to the hotel. I'm comfortable doing that. And yeah, so I got to do that. But yeah, it was fantastic because when I first signed up for the conference, I kind of hemmed and I hawed and I thought, this sounds like a lot of politicians. But it was excellent because I met politicians. I was in a tourism conference with the governor of Alaska right beside me. I met all kinds of agriculture people when I went on the agriculture tour. I learned lots about utilities, which is a real weakness in Canada as opposed to the United States, where they do lots of, the utilities are really involved in economic development. Yeah, so it was kind of a real last minute thing. And I thought, do I sign up for this conference or not? And it was wonderful. And they did a lot on Indigenous economic development. And you were at the probably at the event at the Western Development Museum where we had the Métis dancers, and it was fabulous. It was just fabulous. And I sat with the governor from, I'm trying to remember what governor. Anyways, he was an indigenous governor. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but just mixed with people I never would have mixed with otherwise. And I felt like that expanded my horizons for sure.
Yeah, that's really, I think, what we try and encourage at our event is that opportunity to get that sort of extending your network and interacting with people who you otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to. And it's definitely learning. And so that's all things we encourage. And I'm glad to hear you were able to go on that tour. I know sometimes, even looking at the oil sands this year, just depending on the companies we work with, sometimes they do put some parameters that we have to follow just based on what the company prefers. And so the oil sands, will likely sort of give first preference to elected officials
Yes.
and then kind of go through. But, you know, kind of as you've experienced, we can kind of fit people in right at the last, depending on how the final pickup looks, because people's plans change and things. So there's always opportunity. We do our best to accommodate everyone. So I'm glad it worked out for you then.
Yeah,
think-
and Shane, I think, was on the tour with, was it the EDAC conference where we went and toured the petrochemicals facility? I think that would be excellent for this PNWER conference. That was very insightful as well.
Okay.
Well, I think you've got a great testimonial there from Ilan.
Yeah,
And we have the video
absolutely.
clip of it. Yeah. But it's great, you know, because it's one thing, you know, to talk about it, it's another to actually experience something like that and the
Mhm,
values.
mhm.
So, and I think with COVID, I mean, people want to connect. We've been not connected really, you know, in a
Mhm.
meaningful way for 2 years. So I think
Mhm.
this is a great opportunity. Any other questions for?
Yeah, we have some fun events currently in the works. Synovus is hosting a reception for us at the top of the Bow Center, and so that'll be lovely. They did that in 2016, and it's just a wonderful evening reception. And we're looking into some other options as well. I know Richard is planning or envisioning sort of a restaurant option for people to go attend on Tuesday. There's been talk of possibly organizing a brewery tour. So a lot of fun things kind of in the works that we're exploring.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who, you know, want to keep up to date, I know your website, right? PNWER, is it .org?
Yeah, PNWER.org. We also have a newsletter, which we put out newsletters kind of once a month or every so often. So that's a good way to keep up, sign up for our newsletter. Definitely, if you have any ideas and something's kind of really resonated with you, we have that survey where you can kind of suggest any speakers or people who maybe would benefit from being involved. That's a good way to connect with us. And yeah, we just primarily hope you'll join us to attend. There's definitely a lot of benefit. People make great connections, and really even with your local legislators, we're expecting a good contingency from local Alberta government. And so that's a great way as well to kind of get that opportunity to be face-to-face with your local leaders.
That's great. Well, thanks again, Rachel and Dave. I'm sure people will be connecting with you in the near future. And Christina, thanks to you for setting this up and for getting Richard on. Always appreciate that. So for next week, we've got manufacturing is going to be the focus. We've got a new group actually that's sponsoring the conference this year at the gold level. It's the Excellence in Manufacturing Consortium. They're a national group. They have all kinds of resources on manufacturing programs, education, training, funding. And so Dave Monroe is going to be on talking a little bit about what they do. So thanks again for taking the time today. And Nancy.
Christina, you had your hand raised?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just a really quick one. If anyone on the call would like to connect, you know, with Richard, please do reach out to the office. I can put the office email in the chat, and he'd be happy to speak with anyone on the call one-on-one too, if they have any.
We could also include it in the note that goes out tomorrow.
Oh, perfect.
As well.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Excellent.
Well, thanks again, and we'll see some of you next week. But good luck, Rachel and Christina and Dave. Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Leanne. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.